Good afternoon and welcome to Sam Connell's senior speech. At this time, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Sam's father, Scott, and his mother, Augusta Prep alum Christy, class of 1991, and his aunt, Donna Burnside, class of 1983, as well as a special shout out to his brothers, Charles, class of 22, and Benji, who is here, class of 27. Sam entered Augusta Prep in the 9th grade and has, except when on the injured list, has played football, basketball, and soccer throughout his time in the upper school. Currently sidelined due to injury, Sam has invested his free time by joining the basket club this fall, but he still plans on playing football in college. Outside of school, Sam enjoys going out with his friends, and as you're about to find out, he also enjoys a good laugh. So now, please join me in welcoming Sam Connell to the podium.
Before I start my speech, I'd first like to say a few thank yous to the people who helped me get where I am today. First off, Mom and Dad, thank you for everything, of course. Thank you, Charles and Benji, for being good brothers most of the time. And thank you to Mr. Boyd for, of course, being a great advisor. And lastly, thank you, Hadi, for trading me Christian McCaffrey on fantasy for a 5-second shout-out. This is your shout-out. I'm glad McCaffrey would be pleased to hear that he was only worth a 5-second shout-out. But enough of that, let's dive into the true reason I'm here with you today, and that's humor. Humor is something that I feel has changed over the past few decades. Not just humor itself, but fun in general. So this is where I come into play. I'm here to save the day and teach normal, unfunny people like you how to be funny. So, without further ado, this is me. I feel like I'm a pretty funny guy, usually when I want to make someone laugh, I get it done most of the time. But there are some exceptions to this, some mistakes that I've eliminated over the years. And these mistakes I'm about to tell you, when perfected, can turn you into a comical mastermind. Now, the first one I learned was timing. In order to tell the perfect joke, your timing has to be perfect, unbelievable, immaculate. All adjectives that describe me. For example, asking Mr. Bowman if he can give you a bucket of beer after being lectured for being behind in his class is not good timing. But for whatever reason, it made the joke even funnier. To us, at least, not to Mr. Bowman. So, sorry, Mr. Bowman. I'm sorry. Similarly, doing this to a mannequin while Mr. Mason is pointing out its body parts is not the best timing, apparently, but it made the joke even more funny. Now, I could go on with these examples for hours, which is slightly concerning, but unfortunately, I do have to teach you guys a few things before I leave here. So, anyways, I've always been intrigued at why people find different things funny. For example, if I were to play a video of a small child falling down the stairs, some people in here would laugh. Other people would not. But why is that? Does that say something about the person? Does that say something about their personality or their intelligence? It may sound far-fetched, so let me prove it to you. Now, if you couldn't tell, the people with the lowest IQs in the room laughed at that. But in all seriousness, what does this say about us? Is there a correlation between the childishness of one's humor and their intelligence level? Luckily for me and the rest of you who laughed at that, the answer to that is no. Well, not exactly. That doesn't mean humor and intelligence aren't correlated. According to Phys.org, children with higher general knowledge and a higher verbal reasoning were found to have a higher humor ability. After reading this, I sat there and I thought, wow, I knew I was a genius. This makes complete sense. But I didn't want to jump to conclusions too fast. After all, about 90% of my jokes are about something pretty childish, so how could that make me smart? To reassure myself, I turned to an article on Hollywood.com called Celebrities with Surprisingly High IQ Scores, and I thought this would be a stretch and that there was no way there'd be a lot of comedians on this list, but funny enough, the majority of them were actually comedians. I mean, first you have James Franco, who is known for his childish and funny roles in multiple films like The Interview and This Is the End. He has an IQ of 130. For those who don't know, the average IQ for an adult is about 90 to 108. And on top of this, while he was at UCLA, he took 62 credits in a single semester when the normal limit was just 19. But he's not the only one. Next you have Lisa Kudrow, who is a comedian, again known for her funny roles in films or shows like Friends as Phoebe Buffet. If you've ever seen Friends, you'd be shocked to hear that this same woman has an IQ score of 154. That's just one off of Elon Musk's IQ and three lower than Bill Gates. Other notable names on this list included Stephen Martin with an IQ of 142, Gina Davis with an IQ of 140, and Ashton Kutcher with an IQ of 160. To put that in perspective, that's the same IQ as Stephen Hawking. Yeah, the holes in the sky guy. But let's head on to tip number 2, randomness. But what does that mean? Some people may call it the element of surprise, which, according to fanetwriters.com, allows you to heighten dramatic tension in your story, add suspense, or introduce humor. I can assure you that the element of surprise is a very useful tip. And if you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you again.
Golpe, ponga bien, bueno. Manejo decía que
Sí.
Should we restart?
He was fine. I had a feeling that no one would be expecting a wheelchair basketball video, which is why that probably made that so funny. According to Vox.com, in contemporary humor, the joke teller sets the scene, which is the build-up, and the part that makes us laugh is often a pivot away from the path we thought we were on. In short, this means that what makes us laugh isn't the build-up to the joke, but the random twist at the end. You know, the punchline. To test this theory, I used the helpful tool ChatGPT. I told ChatGPT to give me the most random jokes with a punchline nobody would expect, and the results were pretty concerning. I'm not gonna lie. I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised. If I knew it was that easy to make some of you laugh, it would have been a lot easier to write this speech. And secondly, the second one was even worse. What's E.T. short for? Because he's got tiny legs. This concerned me a lot. I knew it was a bad joke when I had to read it about 8 times before I understood what he was even saying. Since that didn't give me any useful results, I turned to the most random, out-of-pocket people I know for some cool punchlines: my friends. I asked my friends the very simple question: what is the most random thing you've done to make someone laugh? And I wish I could say that these results were more helpful than ChatGPT's, but I would be lying. First, I asked senior and semi-pro Fortnite player Hottie Neon, and he answered the question with, when I was a little kid, I would say poop to my brother and his friends constantly, and they would laugh every time. That's it, just poop. So I just kept spamming that emote, and they kept laughing. Thank you, Hottie. Unsatisfied by this result, I turned to senior and future president Chance Ruiz, who responded with, well, for a joke to be funny, it doesn't have to be verbal. For example, getting a nice handful of Jack Butler's buttocks after a hard day always cheers both of us up. Now, unsatisfied once again by that result, I turned to Liam Reardon, a senior as well, but it didn't go too good. Instead of answering me, he proceeded to stare at me and say, "Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side?" I don't know how this has to do with my question, but thank you, Liam. That being said, the results from ChatGPT were starting to look very, very nice. Obviously, bots and AI-generated brains, and I guess my friends sometimes, struggle to have humor. That is because it's special. You know, humor isn't something that you can learn. It's not something that's inherited or picked up over your life. It just comes naturally. Psychology Today says it best in one of their articles where they did a study on comedians, and according to the results, they did not find that stand-up comedians had a different childhood experience than their peers. And I read this and I was like, well, that makes sense. Even if I live in the same house as my brother, I'm not going to think the same things are funny that he does. But what about identical twins? You know, they share 100% of their DNA. If I'm going to find a similarity between DNA and humor, it's going to be there. However, once again, this was not the case. I found a study that was done on 390 adult identical twins who were asked to rate 48 cartoons based on their level of funniness. And according to an article on Witty Companion, the results for the experiment are as follows. The conclusion was that environmental influences played a more important role in what the twins found funny than genetics. That being said, this is why timing is good. I've lost my place. That being said, humor isn't something that you can learn, it's something that just comes to you naturally. You know, if you pay attention, the funniest people are just naturally funny. They don't have to set up some joke. That's why stand-up comedy is such a success, because their whole goal is to make a normal conversation. Which brings me to my third and final tip for you, which is just be natural. The more naturally the joke sounds in the conversation, the funnier it will be to the audience. Humor isn't something you can simply learn, you know? The funniest people, like I said, are just naturally funny. So I can't guarantee you that you'll leave this a funnier person, but I can guarantee you that if you use my steps, you will be more likely to land a joke that hits. And let me tell you, nothing is more embarrassing than telling a joke nobody laughs at. Nothing. So if you have good timing, can think of the most random things, and are a natural in telling jokes, I promise you the chances of no one laughing at your probably unfunny joke goes from a lot to just a little. But in all seriousness, if you don't think my tips helped you, at least take one thing from my speech. Don't take life too seriously. Now, obviously there are some times and places where you have to be serious in order to get what you need to get done, but I promise you, in the heat of the moment with sports, school, everything, if you just sit back and enjoy yourself and take some time to relax and joke it up with your friends and the people you love, life will be a lot more enjoyable. Trust me. Thank you.
Poop. He says the time is off. Okay, why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
To poop on the other side. Okay, he says that one's better. Seniors, please come up and join Sam up on stage. Everybody else, have a blessed day.